Yes, hello. I am James Rowland. Today it's the WNR594. It's NXT update. I'm not alone. It's a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Going good. Excited to be back talking about NXT. Still, I'm glad I'm still considered an expert, but I better be because you've made me watch a lot of it. So, uh, yeah, hopefully I'm gaining some expertise. But yeah, no, always cool to sit here and talk about NXT. Because at the same time, I try to always look back at NXT. I try to look at NXT with a microcosm of the future, and I think you can kind of tell, like even where the main roster currently at. NXT is still very important. I know it may not, it may, it is that very weird brand that it is, but and it can be tough to watch. It can be great to watch, but I think I love right now. My favorite thing about WWE literally right now is a lot of the guys that we've been watching in NXT and watching them try to find their footing and seemingly do pretty good when it comes to debuting and
Mm.
trying to figure out what they're going to turn into. And I think that's one thing that we kind of have as an advantage as people who watch NXT is like, we know at least have a lot more of a POV of the capabilities and what we would like to see from a lot of the people from NXT. And I think that's one thing. If I didn't have that tie, if I didn't have the experience of watching Melo, watching Trick, watching Javon, watching Oba, watching a lot, even Braun Breaker and a lot of these other people, the women who have peppered the main roster also. If I didn't have that tie, it might be even more hard. It might be I might be even more down on the WWE product than maybe we currently are. And I don't know how you feel that way, but I think that's what makes these reviews and just talking about NXT so important because I don't know if we didn't watch NXT, if we treated like NXT like Ring of Honor, I don't know how much we would like the product if you really thought about it.
It is true. We put a lot of work in, so I want to see it pay off. But again, like you said, I'm at my wit's end when it comes to the main roster. And with these batch of episodes, I have to apologise. The first episode, I was in a terrible mood. I just, we all know what happened. I'm not going to repeat it. And then I have to do a batch of NXT episodes, so not a great, but I do cheer up, from episode two, and like we said, it feels like we haven't been NXT in a while and we're far away, but doing like I said, 5 episodes in this batch. We're getting pretty close, actually, as we head towards
Yeah.
Stand and Deliver. We talk about TNA as well, because again, that wasn't great with them on the last update. Their first episode wasn't. It's not been a great start to the year, I don't feel. But
No.
the second episode was a lot better than the premiere. There was no NXT featured, but Adana Brooke is medically cleared. Trey Miguel returned to TNA, and we had a new system with Moose looking like he's a good guy now. So, and again, I have been watching TNA, and we'll touch on it here. It has got better, but then again, it couldn't have got any worse. And I feel that way. I don't want to shoot my shot with NXT too soon, but do you get where I'm going? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Hmm.
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, NXT January 27th to start us off. Hendry's music hits, but the camera cuts to the Vanity Project standing over a fallen Joe Hendry in the back. Jackson Drake was holding a chair and calmly said to Hendry to get up because they had a match. Ava ran up, called for help, then told someone from production they were going to shuffle things around. Tony D was shown walking through the building surrounded by security. Then we had Dark State, Chacon Sugars, and Osiris Griffin taking on OTM, of course, Bronco Nima and losing prize for the NXT tag team titles. The Vanity Project came out to interfere. Price decked Brad Baylor but got rolled up by Sugars, who had his feet on the ropes afterwards. Hank and Tank came to confront the Vanity Project. OTM attacked them as well, and you know what it's like. A brawl started. Chase U came out as Dark State posed in the ring. The Cullen ran in and beat the daylights out of Dark State. And the tag division, I think it might be the worst we've ever seen in WNR podcast history. Just because there's 5 of them doesn't mean it's any good. But do you know what I mean? Like, I know we've had struggled in the past with tag teams, but I mean, help me out here. I'm not just being negative, am I?
No, you're not. But I think the funniest part about that is I was hoping that you was gonna phrase that. You know what? We're finally trying to build. And then you immediately like, oh, no, they suck. I get it because I think the biggest problem is with Fraxium. Not only did you have the fact that they were just like one of the best in-ring tag teams that we've had, you also invested even in the little nonsensical segment that they kind of built up, and they just had more to care about. I think a lot, like you said, I think the problem with a lot of these teams is that even with the Vanity Project, you might as well get rid. If you don't like the Vanity Project, you're gonna hate these episodes.
Oh no,
But
don't.
so like, yeah, we might as well get ready when it comes to them. But because obviously the booking likes them and wants them to be on our screens. But yeah, so when it comes to them and like OTM, by the way, who just they are like the opposite, by far the opposite of Jada Parker when it comes to just like having like even though they debuted together, I've never seen somebody like be a part of something kind of, or not really debut together, but they kind of was together and then kind of like she just shot off from them so far,
Mm.
and I've never seen something be so contrast. But like, again, it's nothing really to lock on to there. Like, yeah, I have nothing really to care about. Hank and Tank, other than that match with Fraction, which by the way, I'm not trying to bag on them because I thought we saw some of the best that they ever was in them matches in that rivalry with them. But it's starting to feel like we just got to go ahead and tip the cap to Fraxium in there. Because it's just like,
Mm.
it's nothing else really. They haven't been able to carry any of these other teams to that type of match. So, yeah, when it comes to everything we're dealing with, don't get me started on Dark State. Like, they tag champions, but they might as well not be. Like, it's just like, it doesn't really matter that they're tag champions. And and I've been saying from the beginning when it came to Dark State that it's been really, really tough to care about them because they want us to believe that they're way more of a force in NXT than they actually ever proven to be. So it's tough. It's really, really tough right now because I don't know what we can latch on to with any of these teams. And like a lot of it has to do with how WWE and even how NXT at this point is choosing to tell these stories. But yeah, I'm with you. Like even but like if you really want to think about it, it's kind of a similar thing. Not really, but like it's not really because we like a lot of those tag teams on SmackDown, but it's a similar thing that went on with the tag division on SmackDown when it's like, oh, we have 60 different teams all vying for the tag title. And like that means we have a deep tag division, right? And it's like, no, that's not always the case. Like we can see that you have talented teams, or just because, like you said, you have 3, 4 teams brawling at one time. That does not mean the tag division is hot, especially when it doesn't really matter to us who gets those belts because nobody sticks out in an interesting way. So yeah, we're in a tough spot. It might be the worst, and like I said, I think overall, if you go back to NXT history past, all the way from like the Ascension, I mean, it might be cursed in general to just be an NXT tag.
But again, this is the thing as well, and it's like any of these teams. I don't think if Hank and Tank are going to get booked as well on the main roster, 'cause they don't care if they're not going to do treat the street profits well or Fraxium, then what they're going to do it with
Right.
these guys? Are
The
they
Alpha Academy can't even get booked. What the
Yeah.
hell you think Hank and Tank getting?
Oh well. In the women's locker room, Nikita Lyons was bonding with Blake Monroe. She butted up to her and told her she would face Jada Parker, so Blake doesn't have to. So we got Parker and Nikita Lyons. Lyons continued to assault till Parker fired back and hit her with the hypnotic for the win. After the match, Blake Monroe appeared, lounging up on a fluffy white sofa. She stole Parker and steals the spotlight from her. And Parker responded by saying Monroe knows where to find her. Blew a kiss in the camera. Again, I don't mind it, Parker and Moreau, but again, Nikita Lyons is someone that's just, I don't want to say dropped off a cliff, but it's just, where is she at this moment in time?
Yeah. I mean, I know she was spending time on Evolve, and I understand that kind of got her from. I know that's what she was kind of occupying her time with. I mean, it's a number of things. I mean, I think the injury, and it's funny that you mentioned this because like every now and then my wife pop in and she'll see NXT and like we were looking at Nikita and like she don't watch all the time, so she know Jada, she probably know a lot, she know Lola, but like I was pointing out that like even though Nikita kind of was the first one of the three to kind of go viral for reasons that didn't necessarily have anything to do with her wrestling, we know why she went viral, right? So she got that in common with Lola and Jada, but like Jada, has used that in her moveset in wrestling, and Lola used that as part of her character. But we know when she fights more like an MMA style wrestler. I don't know exactly, and we know Nikita was kind of doing kung fu or whatever, or like martial arts. But I have no clue exactly what she has outside of what she went viral for, and a lot of that does play a factor. Now, of course, the injuries. Let's go and get it out the way. Obviously, unfortunate time with some of those major knee. Anytime you have a couple bad knee injuries and all of that, in my opinion, like I mentioned before, if you got to go Stone Cold and knee braces in NXT, the future, the future is promising. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. I haven't seen anybody make it that long with the Stone Cold knee braces. So, like, the fact that you haven't even made it up and you already in that space, we talked about the Tegan Knox is not really ever getting any opportunities, even though she had fought her way back multiple times. So, again, it's not really fair. I'm not saying she got like a tag on her for being like easier to be hurt, but I do think those health issues sidetracked her progress. And then we have the fact that we don't have much to latch on to from a character standpoint that Lola has, and also Jada has the most character out of the three, in my opinion, along with the look and all of that. So I'm not sure exactly what is it going to take for her to put the pieces together. I know they tried to switch her heel from like some of the clips I've seen on Evolve, or like even some of the stuff she do every now and then on NXT. But if you can't get consistently booked on NXT, and we talked about how they're fast tracking the Kendall Graves, they're fast tracking the Izzy, they're fast tracking the Laney Reed, and if you can't even get a spot in JC James' group or something, like it's saying something. You know what I mean? It is saying something. So, and we've seen people who've been in NXT forever, and then I know where they get released. I'm not saying it's gonna happen to her, but they get released, and then people's explanation be, "Oh, well, you can't be in developmental, blah blah blah, this long." So I
Mm.
hope that's not what we're seeing for her, because she did come onto the scene with a lot of hype and seemingly like she would be the future of NXT. But there's been a lot of factors, in my opinion, for why she only scratched the surface of that potential.
Yeah, without a doubt. Backstage, Elio Fleur, Tavian Heights, and Eli Knight were talking. Lexus King, accompanied by Stax and Ariana Grande, interrupted to get into a verbal joust with Heights, who took exception to his insults. They were separated before the two had a chance to throw down. Fiel told Zaria that friends come and go around here. Zaria got huffy with her and accused her of complaining, giving an opportunity she didn't earn. Hale says she did earn it, and some fire back to Zari, who said she'll see her later tonight. Ethan Page approached Miles Bourne as he walking in the back. He's trying to get into Bourne's head and talk him into joining the dark side. Ricky Smokes came up and started running his mouth, with Bourne exploding on both of them. In the back, Ava was talking on the phone about the Royal Rumble. Told Drake that if Hendry's not cleared, she would put him in the ladder match. And she had that Hendry's cleared, he'd still be in that ladder match as well. The NXT Championship qualifier was Dion Lennox versus Miles Bourne. Page slid the belt to Miles to use. As he pondered it, referee saw him holding it, took it away, and Lennox grabbed it and delivered a Michinoku driver variation for the win. After the match, Page got in the ring and berated Bourne for not cheating when he should. Bourne grabbed the title out of Page's hand and pulled the trigger, leaving Page dazed and confused. All right, a lot to unpick there. So it looks like Miles. I mean, we know obviously with this update, Miles Bourne and Ethan Page, and it's about Bourne not being able to pull the trigger. And again, it's like, I mean, Dion Lennox gets a win, but it's not really about him, even though he's in that NXT title matchup.
Right? Isn't that interesting, man? Because like I feel like that's like a great microcosm of what Dark State is. Because if you're going off what he's involved in, you say, "Oh, Dion Lennox, the Dark State, they seem to be important." Even with the stuff they're going to be doing later in this series of episodes with who they're involved with coming up, you feel like, "Oh, okay, this is supposed to be important for them." And it's just that even in this moment when he picks up a big win over a contender, over a championship caliber guy, it doesn't really feel like Dion even matters in it because the story's not really about him. But I thought this was all fine, and I kind of see what they're going with Miles, and I think at the moment I was just more so just interested in to see, okay, what's next? What are we doing long term with these? Is Miles capable of that? Because I know, uh, he's been a face, and he's kind of, I think he has where we can see the potential to be something in WWE, but like in what fashion? And like I do think working with a guy like Ethan, in my opinion, has already kind of given him way more of a presence in a sense, even in this storyline. So even though it's a story that I know I've seen done differently, I'm still interested to see in what shape or form, like where is this going? Is Ethan making a protege, or is and he's just being resistant right now, or is Miles Bourne going to show him that he don't need to go that route? Like, there's many different ways you could take it with this one, and so I was at least somewhat interested in this.
You're out down. Ava warned Tony D not to get involved in the ladder match. In the back, Andre Chase asked Connors and Dixon what they were doing earlier. Andre had to go prepare for this match, and Dixon walked away. Alexis King walked up to Connors and said, "I'm glad you've been listening. Your father should be proud. I know mine would be." King then sat in his throne as it whisked him away to his ring entrance. He then faced Tavian Heights, and with the help of Stacks, got the victory. And again, Monty, sometimes I just think, what year am I fucking watching? Because this is the first time in I don't know how long Lexus King actually come across as important, and I think they even mentioned in the commentary like a more serious side to him, and it's like, where has this been?
It's a shame that it seemed like it comes with having to get around Stacks for him to actually do something serious. He's like, I can't be a joke around Stacks. He's a big enough joke, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. But again, I think again that comes from like this inconsistent. And I think now maybe because of what just happened with that flock of guys that we know have just got called up, maybe now they're finally realizing, oh, okay, guys like Lexus have been here a while. Guys like stats have been here a while. It's time to allow them to finally, because we need something. Like it's like we talked about in the tag division, it's like we talked about so far even in the world title division. It's really top heavy. We really got those same, and we'll talk about that more as we go on. That who we kind of have involved in these important roles and feuds, and it's time for that next class of people to step up and be, especially going towards stand and deliver, and what we'll probably see in Alpha stand and deliver, because I think a lot like a guy like Lexus King and Stat are probably not close to being called up in any way. So it's time for them to take a more important role and be something in NXT. And I think this might be the perfect timing for him because we got those characters like Trick Williams out of the way, and we got a lot of even the guys like Javon Evans who are just so exceedingly talented. Now with this new crop of talent, it may be time for Lexus King to take the reins and be one of those guys. Because if you count his run at AEW, Lexus King is a veteran now. He's a veteran wrestler now. It's time for him to actually showcase that and look like somebody who can be a staple on this roster. So I'm not mad at this. Like you said, it's about time we get him doing something at least. And what I will say is, like you said, he had the stuff on Miles Bourne. He looked like a joke every now and then, and I know he was doing other stuff, but sometimes even on Impact. But I think now it's time for Lexus King to truly at least be headed somewhere. And even with that, I don't really care for Stacks. We joke about Stacks all the time. But even Stacks, ever since he kind of broke off from the family, and I know he's been kind of doing the slime ball boyfriend of Ariana type of thing, but at least they seemingly heading towards something right now, and I think that is at least something we can be looking forward to see what it turns into.
Yeah, right. I doubt. We got Zaria versus Thea Hale. We saw Tatum Paxley attacking Izzy Dames, chase her into one side of the ring and out the other. Zaria was concerned with the shenanigans. Hale sneaked in a quick roll up for the pin. Fatal Influence came out, sounds JC Jane, as Thea stood beside Zaria in anticipation of fight. Zaria grabbed her and tossed her to the mat with an F5. Well, it's coming. That's all we should say right now, but it is coming. In the back, Lexus King again walked up to Dempsey as then QCC made the exit. He asked what they meant. Well, we'll find out, won't we? And then we got Andre Chase versus Kiana Carver for the NXT Championship qualifier match. As we see Chase tackling him over the announce desk. Chase stood on top of the desk. Carver leaped up and picked him and suplexed him, brutalized him back in the ring, where he decided to stop playing with his food and get the pin. After the match, Carver continued mauling Chase till the officials came out. Bloody Chase was being tended to. Carver took the mic and asked the crowd if they really thought that the cornball teacher was going to stop him. Sean Legacy, Charlotte Hill, Kiana Carver, Dion Lennox, Jason Drake all in the ring together. He'll tell Carver What he just did to Chase didn't scare him. Lennox interrupted, predicted victory. Legacy said he's been busting his tail for an opportunity. Drake told him he was going to choke. Ricky Saints made his ring entrance, ladder in hand, and set up the ladder on the floor. Began to address his opponents. He claimed to be a two-time champion. Carver got tired of it, and of course, a brawl broke out. A Joe Hendry music hit. He entered the ring, executed a standing ovation to Saints, and then an angry-looking Carver entered the ring and stood tall to end it. And the men's division, bar Joe Hendry and Ricky Saints, is complete dog shit at this moment in time, Monty. Oh.
I love the way you put it because I said top heavy, but you just said the rest of them.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, man, yeah. And honestly, I do think that's part of why we got a ladder match because the only way you can reasonably believe some of these other guys can become champion would be like through the chaos of finding a way to win a ladder match. So yeah, man, tell me how many times you ever seen a multi-man match for a world championship, and you can only think of two people that's reasonably
uh, it is
reasonably
fucking.
can win it. It's crazy.
Oh, it's awful. It is awful. Anyway, move on. TNA January 29th. Stacks beat the hometown man by cheating. I think that should tell you where you're going with Stacks. February 3rd, NXT. We got shocking news to start. Robert Stone has been in NXT for 7 years. 7 years. Not only that, but Ava is gone. And he is now the interim GM. I mean, where's Stevie Turner when you need her? But Ava's gone, Monty, and I mean,
Mhm.
WWE didn't have a bad word to say, surprisingly.
I mean, not really. Not really surprising considering who kind of helped call the shots around there. They better not. But yeah, no, 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 no. I mean, I like Ava, especially in the backstage role. It's kind of cool to see someone so young in their career, but also just like, just again, just a different whole entire aesthetic behind the leadership role. But you know, I mean, I don't really got. I mean, we kind of watched basically her whole NXT run kind of inspired from when they wanted to try her as a valet to in ring and all of that. So only one surviving from the whole cult is Gacy. Ain't that something?
No.
Ain't that something? But yeah, man, I didn't mind Ava. I liked her in that role, but yeah, I shout out to her because she was real open with like how she kind of stood on certain things politically, and she stood on that all the way out the door, and like basically again because of who she is, and we know who she is, it was never a word said to it by management or never any type of reprimand because there ain't really nothing they can do or say to her in that regard. So I always got a respect for her because she don't necessarily ever have she whenever you're a person like that and you don't have to have us take a stand and say things or like be political in any way, I really do like that in a person because there's plenty of people who are in good positions who choose not to say nothing, and of course that's within their right. But if you can use that platform and that stroke to be able to still get your own opinions off and not just be some corporate shield in a sense, I support that all the way through. But she also just said she want to do other stuff. I heard she's gonna be working with Danny, her mom, The Rock's first wife. So yeah, I think she'll be doing other stuff creatively outside of wrestling as a whole. And shout out to her for giving it a go. You don't necessarily. I know that in that family, the Johnsons like a no IE family. It seems like you kind of just have to wrestle, but no, go do your thing. If you want to be into, I mean, look what The Rock do. The Rock is all through entertainment, and her mother is also got a lot of ties through entertainment. So don't be surprised if you see Ava doing something else, whether it's film or other creative stuff. So I'm happy for her in that regard, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think you can say her run was not successful. I mean, I'm pretty sure she was fine, but you know, did you have any higher expectations for what Ava would accomplish? I don't know. But now that we got Rob Stone in that position, I'm just kind of like, okay, do we even need a general manager in NXT? You ever thought about that? Like, think about what they do. I mean, I guess they make the matches complete, but
we
I
just
don't
we
know.
just need a head of security. That's all we need in
Yeah, that's
NXT. Do
really
you know what I
it.
mean? Like,
Like, you gotta
and
break something up.
yeah, make matches and stuff. Anyway, our first
Don't,
match was
don't
Izzy.
stop nothing.
Our first match was Izzy Dane versus Lola Vice versus Thea Hale for the Women's North American Championship. Kalani Jordan briefly ran into wreck Vice's hand with a ladder, but
Yep.
the match stayed alive. Hale nearly stole it with a Kimura, only for Dame to muscle free, plant her with one more set up powerbomb, and end it. And look, I've chilled out now. Look, I liked it, you know. And the women's division, like we talk about, is stacked and is what I'm putting all my hopes in right now.
I think Triple H is too. I think Triple H is too. I think he's not only openly said it. I think it's obvious. I mean, that's been the case for a while now. Like you said, I'm not trying to say that is not warranted because it is, but you would think because of all the talent that we've kind of already let go, move on, where we would be. But we are still in a pretty favorable position in the women's division when you think about it. So yeah, man, I think this is a great example of it. You know, we got a good mid card title match, and like you said, everybody did their job. You know, Izzy retaining was logical, and even with the Lola Vice type of her stuff with Kalani, again, this is the again, we've been talking about it for months. So I don't want to, I don't want to just continue to repeat myself, but that's my favorite thing about this is that we got a mid card feud, Lola and uh we got Lola and Kalani continuing their non-title women's feud, and then you got, of course, also with Jada and Mariah. So, and then Thea Hale has her own personal type of like she want to redeem herself after losing, the championship. In the past, so everybody here has some type of story to tell, and I think this was executed really well. And I think that's like one of the bright spots, like the reason why you can put so much stock in the women's division, because everywhere you look, we got solid stuff going on.
Yeah, without a doubt. So Rukas with Evan Sinclair and Kendall Gray talk about her Rumble appearance. Soraya comes in upset, so she wants Soraya by her side for everything. But told her not to say anything about the Rumble. Soraya says she gets it and turns her focus to the title match. At this point, I just don't think it will ever happen, the split. We return with Chase U huddled around Andre Chase. Dixon checked in on Connors, who said opportunities don't come often, so he's going to take one when he gets it. Lexus King Stacks and Grace wandered in with King needling Connors about his birthright. Dixon fired back, challenging King and Stacks to a tag match. Stacks just sticks out like a sore thumb. And speaking of Stacks' former teammate Tony D, he reached the ring, mic in hand. He talks about being gone for 7 months and needing to clear the air. He ran through his NXT history, said about a year ago he had everything family, friends, people in his corner until it was taken away. Down just said Dark State blown out of his life, forced him to remember who he really is and what he does best, which is hurting people in the ring. He said he's back for two reasons. First, to deal with Dark State, not for revenge, but for punishment, promising to take everything from him. And the second reason, he said he will come back after Dark State is handled. So Mr. Mystery still has a Tony D accent, and at least Dark State are good for something, you know? I mean, they've pissed off Tony D.
Yeah, and that is the major attraction right now for them is like this one man is about to try to hunt them down. So I think that's just. I think that's very funny because again, when I keep telling you guys about my biggest annoyance with Dark State is that they seem to be they're supposed to be a faction, but people are not afraid of them or they don't feel like they talk like they've done a lot, but they obviously are not that intimidating because one man is literally saying, "I'm going to take you all down and watch as we go on." Because I don't think he's lying from that regard. I also laughed at this promo from my point of view because I was just like, "Hey man, you don't gotta wait to tell me you want the world title." like, I'm like, what the second secret is? Like, you don't have to wait to tell us that. We not well, you being all mysterious for no reason about your second reason. Because what else does he have to do? To be honest.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, yeah, what is it? They're going to team up with Stacks again, you know? I don't think it's going to
Talk
be.
about it. We don't have a heavyweight division. Look at how time has passed. We need Tony D right now. Like,
Well,
please go to the world heavyweight title picture.
yeah. Well,
We
maybe it's
need it.
after this. Maybe it's after the speed championship held by Jasper Troy as we got the next
Oh, okay.
tournament for a shot at him and the belt. Yeah, for the Fleur versus Charlie Dempsey in the first round speed matchup. The Fleur caught Dempsey with a springboard knee, slammed him down, and finished it. Yeah, I mean, doesn't look great for Dempsey at the moment, does it? Kenny Kincaid catches up with Joe Hendry. He won't let bruised ribs get in the way of what he wants. Hendry came here to be champion. He's frustrated he hasn't won yet. We got the Elegance brand, Heather and M by Elegance versus Ruka, Saraya, and Soul for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Chip, Ash, and the brand's concierge are out with the champions, as is Dariah Ray, Sonya Deville at ringside. Zariah and Ruka land double spears on Heather and M, and Zariah gets them up on her shoulders. Ruka looks to land Soul Snatcher, but Ash pulls Heather out the ring, and Ruka
Mhm.
accidentally hits Zariah. Oh, what are the chances? The Elegance brand managed to retain their titles as Zariah and Soul argue. I don't know, but I don't know what your thoughts about this match. Obviously, like I said, we're finally getting somewhere. But if NXT sent 5 women to TNA for a year, it wouldn't affect NXT at all, and it would help TNA because it would make better matchups like this.
But you talking about somebody who actually care about the health of TNA.
Yeah.
You talking like somebody got invested interest in actually making Impact better. You think they really want to, you think they care about it? But like you said, they obviously could. They got a lot to have. They can send some of them girls that just involved to Impact if they really just wanted to. Like, why not? But yeah, so yeah, that obviously is something. I don't know if it's something, but I just obviously the interest or the need to from their point of view isn't there at the moment. But and I don't know if it ever will be because I truly don't know what they get out of the Impact being involved, other than like what you see now, which is that every now and then Impact team coming to NXT to help them tell stories or extra bodies for NXT almost is what it sometimes or for the most part. I feel like every now and then you see, but it's never anybody who it's never anybody who's gonna get anybody to change their channel. It's stacks. It's stacks on. That's you go pop over the Impact and just watch.
To be
Uh,
fair, yeah.
but anyway, no. Again, the storyline makes sense. I guess is another logical conclusion. The problem I have with it is that we kind of seen a version of this already. But I got the point. I get it. We just get it. They're not on the same page. Nothing is really going good for them as a tandem, and we getting there. Again, they taking it week by week, and we'll talk about it as we wrap these episodes up. But yeah, man, they slowly but surely getting where we all been feeling that it was going, and depending on how into this you are, I guess that would determine what you kind of feel about it. But the match itself, I thought was okay. I mean, Heather and M worked pretty decently together, if you ask me. I mean, I didn't think this was a badly worked match at all. So yeah, I don't know what the state of the TNA Knockout division is, but do they need the depth? From what I already know, yes, they would. It would be nice if you could just let some other people tell some of these stories on Impact TV time, but they choose to do that on purpose. They choose not to do that on purpose at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ethan Page rolls up with a vanity project and tells them if they listen to him, unlike Miles Bourne, they'll come out on top. He tells Brad Bailey and Ricky Smokes how to take care of Hank and Tank next week. Cautions Jackson and Drake not to rush anything in the main event. In an earlier today bit, Jada Parker's were fans outside when Blake Monroe attacks. We've got Chase, Cal Dixon, Connors versus Lexus King and Shannon Stacks, Lorenzo. King tagged in, caught Dixon with Coronation and put Chase U away for the win. And Connors left by himself after the break. JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Lani Reed, a fatal influence, hit the ring. Jane was complaining about the Royal Rumble and about Sol Ruka tossing her out the ring. Saraya interrupted to say she didn't need Ruka's spotlight and was coming for Jane's title. That brought out Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair. They both argued who should have the next shot. Sanctions votes to Ruka joined the Master Saraya. What they stood. Robert Stone agreed to a tag match. Whoever was pinned become number one contender. You can tell Shawn Michaels is booking it because I'm sure this was an in your house gimmick at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it always sucked to me. It always sucked as a number one contender especially for a singles belt. I mean, I'm not really a fan of the whoever pins the guy, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's definitely a story beat from his career. So it's really interesting to kind of see that used here. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a problem with this, even though I just felt like we could have settled this. But I think once we see what's going on, why they did it, I get it. But yeah, man, we might as well just do a four. I mean, for me, for my liking, we might just do a four way if we just going for a single belt. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, main event time: Ricky Stanks versus Charlotte Hill versus Sean Legacy versus Jackson Drake, Dion Lennox versus Kiana Carver versus Joe Hendry. I don't know if they got enough people in there for the NXT Championship. Monty, do you know the last NXT title ladder match?
Hollow
Just for
Hill
the
was in this match.
yeah,
Anyway, I forgot he was in the match. What you say? For the world title?
yeah.
Because I remember a North American title as like a standard little. No, I have no clue of the last NXT ladder match. What
It
do we what
was Owens versus Balor at Takeover Brooklyn 2015.
on Balor?
That's
Okay, I figured it
how
was in that
far.
era. I figured it was
Yeah.
further back era because I didn't remember in one of recent times. But yeah, okay,
It is
interesting.
recent times when we first started. When I first started the pod. I mean, come on, 10 years, but still.
Well,
And it,
do you want to know how old I was? We're not even gonna go there. Anyway,
no, 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 no. Well, back to 2026 and chaos immediately with everyone brawling until Saints slipped out. The focus shifted to Carver and Drake. Ladders obviously came into play. Hendry eventually cleared the ring by swinging a ladder like a weapon. Drake was the first to try climb, but Hendry cut him off. The finish came when Saints and Carver raced up separate ladders. Saints knocked Carver off, sending him crashing through another ladder. Looked like his moment, but Hendry climbed up the other side, cracked Saints for the title, and watched him fall onto a ladder below for pulling down the belt to win it all. Yes, Joe Hendry is your new NXT champion. I mean, the bump Carver took was mental, but there is still a part of me that just can't believe Joe Hendry is NXT champion. But I suppose that is where we are in NXT. I mean, Monty, what are your thoughts? It was either him or Saints that was talking about. But again, I didn't think it was a bad match, the ladder match to crown it. And yeah, Joe Hendry's our champion.
yeah, I liked it. I thought this was really cool. Again, for especially for something that was just on like a Tuesday. It was a good individual performances. Like I already kind of touted him. I don't know if I've told you this or if it was just in my yearly prediction, but Sean Legacy, in my opinion, I think he's one of those guys who, depending on how they decide to use him, if you just look at his work, I can see the potential of him being a pretty good star. I don't know if he's world champion material or maybe he's just not there yet. But I mean, the 450 he did and all that, really, really cool. Keanu Carver, obviously, I think we can see that. I hope they don't borrow too many beats from the Obafemi because I've already seen people try to make a joke out of Keanu in the sense of like, wow, we already had Obafemi. And it's just like, I understand he's another big black dominant guy, but I promise you, he's not. We don't have to do that. We don't have to just hit the same beats. He can be dominant in different ways and do something completely different, which he's so far, I think he's okay in that regard. But yeah, I mean, Ricky Saints and Joe are leagues ahead of the rest. And when you're doing a match like that, I do think they did a good job of giving us something uh, funny, in my opinion. I mean, Shiloh Hill in Shiloh Hill. I mean, I wasn't really impressed with something, but I mean, I saw he did like a Terry Funk spot, which I remember, and I'm just like, okay. I mean, somebody old told him to do that, but it was a good reference. He just didn't do it right, in my opinion. But it is what it is. You can tell they're green. You can tell some people. You can tell some of these people and people in here is green. You literally can tell. But I do think the match was really, really good outside of some of the thing, and I do think outside of Saints and Hendry, which is very funny when you think about where we kind of headed right after this. It's like, did I look at the people coming into this match and was like, I almost prefer just a one-on-one ladder match. But after watching it, and like I said, taking into account how good I thought Legacy was, and Jackson Drake was okay, I guess. He was there for the most part, and that's never really a good thing, but he was
Yeah.
there. But and Lennox, like I said, at least he took the bump, a crazy bump, and I didn't think he looked horrible. So like I said, everybody did a decent job in my opinion for the most part. But I do think the match definitely. I just thought about it this way. It's just a regular episode of NXT. It's not really anybody something I had to pay for or anything. It's not behind a paywall. I think it's a really you're getting a really good bang for your buck in that regard because it is just on free television. But did it feel like a world championship level match outside of the fact that we are watching people kind of sacrifice their body in a ladder match format? No, it didn't feel like something because of who was in it outside of Joe and Ricky. It didn't feel like the stakes were big enough, even though we're talking about the biggest championship. But I think that's a great point of view of how, like you just mentioned earlier, when we don't really have a deep division in that regard now. We are trying to build. We got, we got what, six guys here, seven guys here, and we have five of the guys literally trying to formulate something or grow
Mm.
a character or grow something for us to latch onto. And that's not what usually the stage for your world title picture. So yeah, man, we're in a weird space, but I mean, I think Joe is like a good choice if you didn't want to put the belt right back on Ricky. And I'm not gonna act like I'm not shocked. I definitely coming into this like, okay, this is Ricky's gonna retain it by hook or by crook, right? But or get the belt by hook or by crook, and he's gonna be our leader going forward. But Joe getting it, I'm with. I'm very interested in like. I get what you say about being surprised, but like, what do you think Joe's ceiling is as NXT champion? Because I'm not opposed to it, but I don't know how far he can really go as the leader of the. Is he the leader of our brand post over Femi and Trick Williams?
Mm.
Is that who we need to be funneling behind right now, or is that just the best we got?
Well, exactly. I mean, stranger things have happened, though, aren't they? But we need to, like we said, have challenges and to see what's coming up next as well. Booker on commentary was great. And of course, we do believe in Joe Hendry. TNA February 5th was nothing. Triple A February 7th, Mr. Iguana, Load of Ice beat Ethan Page and not Chelsea Green, who is injured. Instead, it was La Yedia who took the pin. It's a shame it had to kind of end like this, but as we talk about, at least Ethan Page has got that North American Championship.
Yeah, at least he got that right now. Yeah.
NXT February 10th for NXT champion start the show. Joe Hendry got a "You Deserve It" chance. He says, "We believe isn't just a catchphrase, it's a movement," and enter the Vanity Project to interrupt. Joe says since they were man enough to cop to attacking him, he's got no problem defending the title against them. And then those damn number game win outs as usual. So Joe is an idiot. Not only got attacked and gave him a title match, but then he got attacked as well. He has said he's a man of NXT, and it is wild to think that Randy faced Joe at Mania last year. And now look at both of them, What happens in a year? Zariah is focused on the miscommunications, and so Ruka is focused on what a great team they are. We'll see what happens later in the match. Jada Parker walks up and talks, cutting a promo how Blake Monroe wants to fight if she got one. And here we go, Blake Monroe versus Jada Parker. Parker jumps Monroe the second she gets in the ring, and the referee barely separates, and we get a bell. Blake throws the entrance throw, but Jada bows to the floor, then out to the floor and the brawling as the referee counts, and it ends in a double count out. And of course, people in the locker room come to stop, but this just continues fighting. This NXT is a brawl all the time. Hypnotic takes a referee out when Blake dodges. Jada kicks the security guard in the gentleman's area as Moreau beats a hasty retreat. The annoying thing is that if they book Jada wrestling more often rather than her being on and off, it would help her improve the timing and such, and she would be in such an improved position with the time she spent in NXT.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But we see that a lot of times. Instead of booking a lot of the talent that we think could probably use more experience, they prefer to just utilize their strong suits, whether it's a promo for Jada or whatever, or brawl, and they just brawl it out. And like it seems like more a lot of times, and I think we know this. What's more important to them is like, can they tell a story? You can get by in that regard, not being the smoothest or not being able to have longer than 15-minute matches as long as they feel like you can tell a good enough story in those 15 minutes or whatever, I guess. So, yeah, I think that's probably what we had with Jada. I do agree that maybe if we, and this come back from a WWE booking standpoint, this ain't even just NXT right now. Like I talked about this just on the main roster. Like, why do everybody who have a feud with each other either got to have a promo into a brawl, face to face promo, backstage promo, or nobody can just fight somebody else. And if you do fight somebody else, we know it's a guaranteed interference. I'm not trying to say you can't do that because that's a way to tell a story or keep a feud going. But it's like it don't feel like people are wrestlers when they get a storyline. Some it's just like we know from the beginning that this is not like a thing. This match is not going to be a legit match. It's not how they build legit matches. It's not how they let those things go on. So yeah, they tried to tell a different story than what we used to, but it ended up being like you said. And this is my argument. I want to find whoever that person was who told me, "Well, it's wrestling, man. It's wrestling, man. Of course, it's gonna be brawl." Hey, man, I'm trying to tell you, you can't. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm tired. I'm not saying brawl shouldn't happen in wrestling. I am saying that if you do it as much in NXT, at some point it's gonna be like, who cares if they brawl? Like we get it, they
Mm,
want to fight each other, but it's like I've seen 100 brawl in 5 weeks of television. I don't. It
yeah.
doesn't matter. No, this brawl is not that much different than the one that the tag team just did. So it's like, does this make me more excited for this feud that I think is actually telling a pretty decent story of animosity and jealousy between these two? I don't know what the brawl adds to it versus, like you said, getting Jada a match and maybe getting an effective attack in. Like it's different ways to keep a storyline going. And I'm not trying to. I know they've done versions of that too, but yeah, a double count out that just ended up into a brawl. It's like, okay, well, now we're padding time so we can get this blow off something later, I guess. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
it feels like. That's exactly what we did.
Well, we get over to Tate and Paxi video package where she talks about hanging on to the culling too tight before letting go and seeing things clearly, having the strength and comfort and peace she saw already inside of her. I don't know if it was AI or not, the way the effects on the screen and stuff. I don't want to start that argument or not. I don't know if WWE do use it. Araya complains that Andre Chase held him back, and the Legacy Toronto rolls up to back Connors up, and Dixon storms off. Grace says no one understands their frustrations beside them, and Connor said he's done pretending he wasn't born in the business. And Lexus King said they just need the final piece of the puzzle, and Connors tells him that dads have some history and he'll talk to him, whoever that might be. And at that point, do you think that was David Finlay they had their idea on, Monty, or am I just kind of chatting shit?
I have no way of knowing. I have no way of knowing. I feel like you. I feel like you're right, but it also could have been Chadden because, in my opinion, I think that's a big old estimation to kind of go on television and write that in when you haven't secured it yet. That's all. Like I don't care if you're talking to him and you're negotiating or whatever. Or maybe you just thought his dad could convince him, but his dad, truthfully, in my opinion, as a father, I was gonna tell my child to take the best offer. And that's just how it goes. So I don't see my only argument against that being the case is they didn't obviously have him under the books already. I just don't think you put that on television, even hinting that way, unless you already kind of had him under the books. And that's just my estimation. But even if he's telling you all the right things on the thing, if he ain't signed that contract, I don't think. And unless you got a good pivot in mind, which that remains to be seen.
Yeah, we got Eli Knight versus Josh Briggs for the Speed Championship. Knight got the win in 2 minutes. Just let that sink in. That's where Josh Briggs is right now. You know, that's just I don't know. Robert Stone met Lola Vice in the trainer's room and said if she's cleared, he has a match for her against Clarny Jordan. Jordan attacks Lola and lays her out, stomping on her injured hand. Backstage, a bunch of dudes are laid out in the room, and the chaos thanks to Kiana Carver. Dark State in the ring and Dion Lennox on the mic. He says they're on a championship level, yeah, all right, and warns Tony D. Nothing has changed, and Dark State is stronger than ever. Tony is lonelier than ever. And then Sean Spears and Nico Vance appear on the balcony. OTM appear in the crowd. They said they aren't done. Hank and Tank are there as well. And again, we just get another fucking brawl, really. But Tony D shows up and hits the spine buster on Lennox and James to leave them in the ring. Jackson Drake versus Joe Hendry, NXT Men's Championship. Joe retained with the standing ovation. Um, Drake needs to finish school, man. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is, but he's just too young, All right, he's just too young. Post match, a man in the hoodie jumps Hendry in the ring and beats him. It turns out it's Ricky Saints with Springboard Tornado DDT. So at least they're gonna. I mean, I don't know why we had so much vanity projects, but at least it looks like Joe Hendry and Ricky Saints coming up.
Didn't I tell you to prepare yourself for that? You better get ready for Ricky Smokes, I guess. That's a horrible name. Brad Brad and Jackson Drake. You better get prepared for Jackson Drake and the crew because they're gonna be on your TV screen. I don't know why, but that is what it is. Uh I get what you mean because he still looks very, very young, but I mean it is what it is. I don't. How young is he to be honest? But I see what you mean. He definitely looks like he's still in his teens somehow. But yeah, man, that's where we at with him. Somehow he's in an NXT title match, and he's in an NXT title match. In the ladder match. So like they like this kid. I think he's like the Evolve champion. I think too, which I don't know how much that matters, but yeah. So they like kind of like I was saying with Killer Gray. Even though in this case they really seem to like this kid. So you know, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about. It. I'm glad you said that because I really was gonna pick your brain about where you at with them, just in general. Because I just don't really have an opinion quite yet. But I guess we'll give it time. But yeah, that's where we're going. We're going with Ricky Saint. And again, this was very funny to me because obviously they were the two best contenders for the world championship in the ladder match. And it would immediately kind of get proven correct in that assumption by the first few kind of being, let's just throw our two best guys against each other right now. That's all we got for now.
Yeah, but again, I don't know why they are putting teenagers. I think I've just looked up. He's 16 years old, man. Come on, NXT, that's not legal. Ank Tank versus Swipe Right. Fucking, like I said, Brad Bain and Ricky Smokes. The Cullen come to the stage. Referee distracted. Jackson Drake runs down. Cheap shot. And Swipe Right wins. I mean, why would you call him Ricky Smokes when you got fucking Ricky Saints? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's what Smokes and Knight going to team up, or it's just I don't know. Too much vanity project. There is someone called Ricky Smokes. Jesus Christ. The main event was Ren QCC, Kendall Gray, and Ren Sinclair versus Aruka. Like we said, the woman who got the pin would be number one contender. Super kick sends her eye into the corner. Referee counts it as a tag, even though Soul got knocked to the floor. F5 on Ren, Ruka back in, but Slow Snatcher on Kendall at the same time. And so Ruka wins, but it's Soul Ruka who gets the pin. Ruka tries to make up with Zariah, but Zariah isn't having it, slaps her hand away. Fatal Implements come to the ring, so JC Jane can square up to a new challenger. Will it be time for Soul Ruka to finally stop the reign of JC Jane?
I mean, we'll see. We will see in that regard. I think the way we got here was funny because, like, you know, I think again this explains why we got a tag team match. I'm not sure why Ren QCC is even called it. All because like I don't, the QCC do they still hang out with Tavion? Like
Yeah,
does that
no, I
still
don't.
exist?
Yeah,
Like why is there why is it just Kendall and Ren? But whatever. They want to have a little tag team name, cool. And it's, I guess they just want to copy Zaruka in that regard. But anyway, I thought the match was fine. The finish, it wasn't perfect, but we get what they were trying to do, and we get the gist of it. We get it. Zaruka again, Zarya again, kind of getting pushed aside as the weaker link. And the funny thing about this story, I'd probably be way more sympathetic or way more into a story if I felt like Zarya wasn't by far the weakest link. And it's not like they kind of the whole time they were on the same page, they pretty much booked them like Zarya was not the better of the two. So it's kind of funny. But anyway, I get it. And I do think at this point we kind of got to look to Soul to be that guy person because I feel like if you look at the women's division, who is more not only just title ready, who you think could benefit the most from finally ending that reign of JC? I mean, we probably like because she's kind of taking out everybody else in a sense, or they've turned heel. So I think so. Ruka's in prime position.
mm, yeah, that is true. Well, we'll find out what happens. TNA February 12th, nothing. TNA No Surrender February 14th. Teddy Swims with Trey Miguel as he faced Stacks for the, I want to say, international championships. Stacks and he broke Trey's neck from a superplex. Trey did get the win, and hopefully we can move on. And even after betrayal, Santino still gave his daughter Ariana Grace a knockouts title match. In a shocking result, Grace became knockouts champion, beating Li Ying Lee. She used the Cobra as well. And what's funny about that is Jordan Grace has left, as we know, and went to WWE. And since then, they've had Jordan and Grace as knockout champions.
Mm. That might be the most interesting thing about the knockout title. And she's left. uh, yeah, I don't really got nothing to say about that. I mean, good for Ariana, bad for Li Ning, because just we talked about it. TNA women's division is in a not really in the best state. And the fact that we're already back telling stories using NXT talent. And to be fair to Ariana, I guess she's kind of spent more time on Impact than NXT, even though those are that's kind of changed. She's kind of pulling doubles more now. So instead of just doing backstage segments, she's being more involved with NXT. But so yeah, it's kind of sad because I thought the Kalani Jordan stuff is as good as I thought it was for Kalani. Good as this may end up being for Ariana, I guess, to get time as a champion. Again, what does it say about Impact that they can't keep that championship? They can't keep it under wrap, and it has to go to the by far stronger women's division in NXT.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
horrible.
It's crazy.
NXT February 17th, we got right into the first match with Vice taking on Kalani Jordan. Before Jordan getting to the ring, Vice was all over her. Of course, Lola was suddenly injured hand, and that injury became the focal point of the match for a long time. Jordan ended up winning with a pretty unique submission of Vice's injured hand. Um, and to be fair to say, both are equals now as well, you know, with the development of Jordan recently.
100%. 100%. Like Kalani has improved leaps and bounds. She seemed to really believe it or really being bought into this character. And I don't know, maybe it's one of those things to where she seemed more robotic as a babyface because that wasn't really who she. And I'm not gonna speak to her character personally, but maybe she's just more comfortable as a heel because I do think she's kind of settled in to this character a lot quicker or at least a lot smoother than it felt like she did when she was kind of just a generic white meat babyface. So but like she always kind of had that talent in the ring, but now she's adding the mean streak. Now she's adding the viciousness. And Lola kind of always had that viciousness because it kind of suits the MMA style. So, I agree. I think they really are kind of both at that kind of definitely can be your mid tier champion, but also potential world NXT champion, like NXT world champion potential also if they wanted to be. They're both closer to the main roster than they are to just doing nothing in NXT. I think that too. So yeah, I think this is a great feud of people who kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways because I think Lola Vice, even though she still kind of had to find herself maybe more as a character too, I think even she became leaps and bounds than where she was personality wise. So yeah, man, it's really cool to kind of watch these two kind of develop at the similar time, maybe at a different rate for certain
Mm.
skills. But yeah, man, it's been cool, and this was great in my opinion for Kalani because again, what a lot of heels, even baby faces to an extent, every wrestler in my opinion has to have that switch to where you know that they have a chance to really inflict pain on their opponent. And I think, especially as a heel for Kalani, it was cool to see her kind of go to that place to get this win.
You're right, Dal. As Ricky Saints was walking the parking lot, Joe Hendry jumped him. The fight broken up by security. When the show returned, Hendry came to the ring, called out Saints for a fight. Saints appeared in the crow's nest and said Hendry, the title makes him sick. He said he's a gimmick and sees right through it. They talked trash back and forth until Saints proposed a title match at Vengeance. Hendry accepted the challenge. And I got to say, both were great in their roles. And I really do like Joe's new t shirt as well, you know. Like I said, it might be only be these two, but at least they're trying, you know.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I say I'm trying my best to enjoy what we get because I do think Ricky and Joe and it's kind of like in that Ethan Page. I think they're all three in that tier of caliber of talent, and I think the more so if we're looking down or we're talking bad about things on this episode, it got more so to do with the fact that them three in the men's division are by far the best of the best. And then we kind of got to work and figure out things with everybody else. Now, I probably even give Tony D a little bit of that love too. But besides that, uh, like you said, you got to kind of just enjoy and be like, okay, at least we are getting some top notch. It's not deep. It's not anything we haven't seen before, but it is some pretty good work from two veteran talent. And I think sometimes because they're veterans, because we kind of know what kind of to expect from them, you kind of take it for granted. But yeah, you're 100% right. This was good, and they're doing a good job building towards their match.
Yeah, without doubt. The Cullen were in the poorly lit room. Izzy said it doesn't matter what version of Tatum shows up, she will beat her. Vance and Spears think they have a shot at tag gold as well. Tony D and Dark State separate segments to hype their upcoming match. The new improved Tony D had his first match in months against Cutler James. He came up with new music and different gear that fits more to his new personality. It was a highly physical fight. Tony D got the win in just a couple of minutes. Dion Lennox attacked Tony after it was over, but he got the better of Dark State and used the steel steps to inflict some extra damage. We mentioned this. Has Dark State actually got one over on Tony D since Tony D's been back? He's just been beating him every week.
They haven't. They really haven't. The only threat that they oppose to him is the threat that we already knew about. That's the fact that it's supposed to be more of them than him. That have not mattered so far. It's not mattered so far. So yeah, no,
That is
he's
fucking
done
crazy.
nothing but school those kids and make them look uh pretty incompetent.
Crazy. Ricky Saints talked up the all ego backstage. A tag shot was on the line. The fatal four way Bronco Nima, Lucien Price, Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, Nick Vance, Sean Spears, and Hank and Tank were the competitors involved. Price and Vance were the two of the biggest guys in the ring, so the showdown was given special attention. It was chaotic. It was pretty easy to follow. It was legal. Jackson Drake cost Spears the win, and it led to Baylor falling on Spears and getting the pin and the win. I mean, our vanity project are Make a Wish kids or something. Is this something that we just don't know? I mean, the finish was all right, but I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, what is going on?
What did I try to tell you, man? You gotta like them, and if you don't like them, it's gonna be tough to watch right now. I'm not saying I like them. I'm just saying, if you like me and you're pretty indifferent, you realize watching these episodes that man, they like these kids.
Fucking
They
hell.
want us to at least care about them, to care enough to not like them. So maybe you at least care enough to not like them, James. No, uh,
Oh, I never thought this would be the vanity project update.
it is. You might want to, yeah. I don't know how many views we're gonna get once people find out that we spent most of the time talking about, but yeah, you might want to title it Vanity Project NXT
Oh,
update.
God. The vanity update. Yeah, so I was shown backstage telling Sol Ruka the friendship was over after Ruka ended up getting the title shot last week. After Break Fatal Influence came to the ring, Jane said she's actually looking forward to facing Sol for the title, and she's a little jealous because the crowd loves her more. Jane complained about how Ruka keeps upstaging her, just well, it's because she's better, JC, all right? She's mocked the personal issues. They traded some insults. Sol came out. Zariah came out as well and beat all three members of the group for offering a hand to Ruka and hugging her. So everything's all right. You see, everything is fine between Zolruka. Elio for the flirt and Eli Knight met in a speed match to determine the next challenger for the title. Both obviously fast paced. They ended up running out of time. So Robert Stone came out and booked a triple threat match with a 7 minute time limit. Wow. I mean,
Ooh.
all right, Stone's not doing a bad job. Blake Monroe introduced herself to Stone like they had never met, was pretty funny. The birthright say, "What's the point of stacks?" We've asked this for a while. And then this week's main event saw Shiloh Hill get a title shot for some reason against Ethan Page for the North American title. Page tried to bring in the title belt. Hill once again stopped him from using the foreign object. Vanity Project, because we've not seen enough of them, showed up, distracted the challenger. Hill took out all three men. All Ego got the win to retain his title and set a new record for most successful title defenses. The show ended over Miles Bourne saving Hill and clearing Vanity Project out of the ring. He grabbed a chair and Page told Bourne he could get a title shot next week as long as he didn't break his ankle, and Bourne stomped him anyway. So Miles is getting his shot. But underneath all that bullshit, Ethan Page, most title reigns, North American Championship. Well done to All Ego.
Yeah, well deserved. Well deserved. And we know the lineage of that belt being kind of, with Oba's run and with Wes Lee's run and with Melo's run and kind of like the history of that belt in general is like one of the best protected and just best belts that we kind of seen consistently booked pretty decently well, or at least make it feel like one of those underrated. It's sometimes better than the NXT World Title as far as like, especially lately, but like even like when you just look at his run, it's been like one of the best. So the fact that Ethan Page has done this, and like we talked about, he's done it across many different promotions. He's done it in Impact, done it in AAA. He's done it against all types of talent. I do think that puts his run, even if his run hasn't been like 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, hasn't been like the craziest storyline. I do think it's some of the solid and some of the big, one of the solid, some of the one of the most solid and one of the best, just pure title reigns from a heel, defending and finding a way to win perspective. He's done it better than a lot, and I think even in this match, even when the contender, is not even the best in the Shiloh Hill, I thought you probably can make a case that this is probably one of the worst on the worst side of the spectrum of like what Ethan Page has done. But this ain't have much a lot to do with him. I'm not the biggest fan of Shiloh. I don't need the Vanity Project. And maybe that's where we're heading. Maybe we're heading towards some Ethan Page helping the kids because they actually do fit together. I don't know. I'm not saying like a Shane McMahon Mean Street Posse in a way because that's what the Vanity Project used to reminded me of. It reminded me the way they dress just reminded me of those guys. But those guys were legit jobbers. They want me to actually thank the Vanity Project for good. So whatever, I guess they are. But or at least that's what they want us to feel. We'll see. I do think maybe my opinion on the Vanity Project can change if we get like a guy like Ethan Page to kind of legit take over the reins and use those guys in a way, maybe. But in a sense, I'm still on the fence about it because I don't think he either needs it. To be honest, either he can just be who he is, and as you can see, that's successful. But whatever. I don't know what Shiloh Hill did to deserve this spot, but I'm happy with the continuation of the Bourne story because even this kind of like we were talking about Dion Lee earlier with Shiloh Hill. He was here, but other than him kind of valiantly fighting off a lot of people, it wasn't really about him. It was more so about what we got after, and I was cool with that. And I love the fact that he still stepped on his leg after the fact because I just again, like I said, even baby faces need to be able to show that they can be vicious because if not, they can get stale even faster. So kudos to Bourne and Page for at least telling a good story here.
Hello?
Who's back?
Am I back? I've completely lost myself
Okay.
then.
Okay, yeah, me too. Dropped off. So
Apologies.
I was talking into the void.
That's right. We got to Impact. We talk about Miles Bourne. Impact February 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Stack's got his rematch against Trey Miguel for the International Championship. And like the loser he is, he lost. NXT February 24th. The last episode that we're going to do is originally scheduled for Atlanta, Georgia, relocated back to the Performance Center over venue concerns, which probably means low ticket sales, you know?
Well, it sounds like to me.
Oh, my
There's
word.
always the message I get from
um, the show opens with Robert Stone welcoming us to the show and promised us a special night with four titles on the line. We start with Dark State, Azaris Griffin and Shakon Sugars versus Fight Right, Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes for the NXT Men's Tag Team Championship. Dark State on top until Tony D arrives and slams Sugars into the apron. He rolls Baylor into the pin, making Vanity Project the new NXT Tag Team Championships. You son of a bitch. I cannot believe it.
Like I said, if you don't like this batch of episodes is not for you, man. Like, oh man, Ricky Smokes is the champion, guy. Uh, yeah. So, again, I was into the match. I thought it was pretty decently multi-man type. I mean, it was a decently tag team match with Saquon Sugars and Osiris, who I don't really get a chance to see as much as I see Dion Lennox in general. But I know they've been kind of like the main tag team in this group. And again, I don't know. Like I said, the work itself I thought was solid, and I wasn't too opposed to how things wrapped up. But as soon as I saw it turned into kind of like a roundabout outside, I was like, where is he? Because I know he got to come because every time Dark State is doing something, Tony D is going to do something. But Dark State was dominating. Not really used to seeing two teams that's supposed to be bad guys. But again, I guess it kind of depends on what kind of bad. I guess there are two different types of bad guys. Like one is like very cowardly, cheap, and the other one is just, you know, I guess kind of like they're more of an aggressive heel. If that's what you want to say. But I thought it was fine. I didn't have a problem. I do think NXT needs to rebuild something, and we see what the division is with Dark State. Uh, as much as I don't really care or really know what to say about the Vanity Project as a whole right now, I do think they are young enough, and maybe they'll grow with the belts, and maybe they'll be the new team that we can kind of build something up with. We see what the division is with Dark State. We saw what it was when even Hank and Tank had it, and it's just not good enough. We're not really making any progress. So maybe now, if we try something new with these young guys, maybe this is a future that you can kind of build. You can build something up toward the future. Uh, or at the very least, they'll just have those belts and whatever, and it'll still be in a brawl. It'll still be the brawl section of the show, but they'll just be involved now. So I mean, we'll see. But I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic. Let's just let me be optimistic.
Fucking Tony D has got a lot to be fucking to answer for. Not only for Stacks, but now for this shit as well. It is just fucking. And again, I don't know I don't know who they are blowing backstage or whatever it is. But the Vanity Project, yeah, have ruined nearly NXT. I mean, everybody it's just come on, come on. Anyway, backstage, Miles Bourne reflects on his North American Championship match against Ethan Page. He said he'll no longer be known as just the deaf kid. He says in an interview, confident in his chances tonight's main event. We've got Keanu Carver versus Sean Legacy. After tossing his opponent around, he tries spearing Legacy again, but a lot of counters. Legacy comes back with a 450 splash, but Carver hits a pounce and a power slam for a victory. And again, we talked about Keanu Carver, but he needs to work on his finisher. That's an awkward power slam. When you just try the old power bomb, I mean, I suppose again, talk about the Obafemi comparisons or
Yeah,
something like
maybe
that.
that's why.
I mean, yeah, maybe,
Let's
yeah.
just do the
Just,
jackhammer. He was
just
close
shit,
to it
shit power
anyway.
slam. Yeah, just
Yeah,
fucking,
just
you know what I mean?
turn it into
Just
a power slam, or like, yeah, he doing it anyway. But it's like it looked like his version like a soft Falcon Arrow or whatever. It doesn't look impactful. So like either add some impact and just do the Falcon Arrow like Takeshita, for example, or just like I said, do the jackhammer, Goldberg style,
this is
or something
WWE,
like
so
that,
it'd
or
be
power.
Falcon Arrow like Bob Holly. Thank you very much. All right, let's
Good point.
In the women's locker room, Kendall Gray hypes up Ren Sinclair for a speed tournament match next week. Kalani Jordan boasts tapping out Lola Vice, who shuts her up with a big boot for a pull apart brawl. We've got Jasper Troy versus Eli Knight versus Edio LaFleur. What puts me off about LaFleur is constantly thinking about dodgeball when I hear his name, but we'll see what happens. Um, LaFleur lands a 450 splash from Troy at the 2 minute mark, escapes a black hole slam. Knight follows with a moonsault onto Troy, but LaFleur steals a pin for a victory. So again, and I quite like the fact that it was Jasper Troy who was pinned. But you know,
Me too.
Monty, I know black is cool, right? Not the color. I'm talking about, not just like. Don't get me wrong, but Reeves and Troy could potentially be in dark state from what we've seen the last couple of matches. Like, they all do
Yeah.
they all go to
No, no,
the same
no.
place? Like,
No, I agree. I've had a problem with Jasper's gear from the moment he debuted, and it hasn't gotten any better. Yeah, I just don't. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, if Tony D wasn't beefing with them, he also got a thing going on. But at least he'll look a little bit more fashionable in a sense, and it kind of fits how he looks right now. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. I was also very pleased that Jasper was the one because it was funny to me that he was the champion, and I was like, by far, I'm more interested in both challenges than I am in the champion. So it didn't matter to me who won this. Like Elio LaFleur, like you say, the name that was a great reference with dodgeball. But I do think he shows flashes of talent. My only problem is the whole concept. I just haven't been a fan of the whole speed concept in the general because it's like, how can I tell you? How can I tell you this was good? Like everything is gonna be rushed. I'm not saying it was bad. It wasn't boring or anything, but everything. But I think, imagine if you do give me a boring 7 minute match. I mean, it's possible, but I'm just saying, imagine if you do. So
yeah.
my thing is like I'm not really a fan of the concept, and I don't really think it helps the LaFleur. It doesn't help Jasper Troy. Jasper Troy needs more time in the ring. He don't need less time. So like that's all interesting thing about it. But good for LaFleur. I'm not sure what to think about Eli Knight to be exactly, other than like I don't really like the name they gave him, but obviously I don't like the name they gave him because it's just like, come on now. But I will say that I do see some potential in him in ring work wise also, but we got a long ways to go in my opinion for him. But yeah, I don't know how much value the speed division is as a whole, but that's just another title and just another thing to watch. Sure, it's fine.
But the thing is, if we had another secondary men's champion, like a North American, then you could have Ethan Page and Miles Bourne in the NXT title picture. But then again, they probably don't want to do that. In
Yeah,
the training room, Ricky Saints chats to All Ego. Page gets kudos for the new NXT Tag Champions Vanity Project. Going to make sure you remain the longest reigning North American champion ever, Saints tells Page. And we've got a package chronicling Joe Hendry's journey to the NXT Championship in Scotland. He earned a black belt in judo, completed a master's degree in business, marketing, tours as a musician, not a magician. At 24, he decided to pursue professional wrestling, winning 2 gold medals. Of course, he
big difference.
had matches against Cody Rhodes, Kurt Angle, and Drew McIntyre. That's obviously back in ICW. He went viral for his entrance theme and physical transformation in TNA before his final push into WWE. And it's this. This is what we need more of. If you're going to introduce 86 different fucking people every week, right? I think we
Yeah.
had one on Keanu Reeves last week, a shorter one, obviously. But this will tell a lot of people, and I think they need to still use it on SmackDown and Raw as well, because, like I
Yeah,
said, with the people coming up, it just makes sense that you get to learn more about the person.
100%. Like I think we need all across the main roster in general. Like when you bring these AAA guys to fight in a open challenge, it'll be nice to tell more other than like a quick 5 minutes. I know they always claim not to have time, but this didn't take too long. I will say it did make me laugh because as I was watching this, I came to one conclusion like, damn, Joe Hendry old. Not literally, but I just like when you talk about all the stuff he's already done, and just to be the NXT Championship champion now, I'm just like he's done a lot with his life. He lived a couple of lives, and he's just the NXT champion now. He has a long way to go theoretically if you think about what his clothes mean. But again, I think I agree with you. I do think it's effective. It helps you familiarize yourself. We talk about all the time how we keep fumbling over names, and even especially when it comes to the women's division, it would have been nice as they pop up Delaney Reed to just Paul walk in for Jasmine Nick. It would have been nice to figure out who the hell. Well, who is Delaney Reed? What does she do? So it'd be nice. So like, and like I agree with you. Debuts, it'll definitely be effective, especially for the casuals who don't have the time to watch this stuff, man. Who don't have a clue. Imagine how much more hype you would have for the Javon Evanses or for like even the Obafemi if you just walk through not only what he was before NXT, but how dominant he was in NXT. And I get it. I know most people. I know they got a point across now, but like I've had conversations with some people who don't really know what to make of Obafemi yet. They know he's dominant. Like, oh, but is he just supposed to be the next Brock Lesnar? And I'm like, that's the reason why a lot of these casual or more so just only main roster watchers always try to compare talent to people that they know because they don't know these guys. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Lola Vice cuts off Dark State from storming into Robert Stone's office. She demands the next the underground match against Kalani Jordan. And the general manager accepts for Vengeance Day. Sol Ruka versus JC Jane for the NXT Women's Championship.
All
With
right.
a with the surfer
Woo!
theme, we get here. Ruka arrives alongside Zarya for long-awaited NXT Championship match. Mike Rome completes championship introductions. What will happen? Well, Zarya spears Ruka. She follows with an F5, but Ruka still agrees to compete because she's a fucking idiot. Jane
Idiot.
capitalizes with a rolling encore for victory. Is stunned, standing Orlando. Zarya F5s a former friend the announce desk and says, snatch that soul, bitch. It happened. My
Let's get the
God,
women.
Monty. Yeah, it only took 4.5 years, but it happened.
Hey man, what has been my biggest argument? I talk about it when we talk about even the main roster at this point, man, and like this is where we are, man. Like I don't like everything. Don't have to be slow burn. I just think this had the chance to be one of the most well executed. And I'm not trying to say they won't do anything interesting going forward, or the few following this won't be anything of note because I don't want to be that negative, and two it's just like it, but my point is just imagine how much more we could have got out of this, or at least how much more surprise we could have got if it wasn't teased for 6 months. Like, you know what I mean? Like we've been teasing descent. We've been seeing one person look why do you think the live audience is a great measure too? Why do you think a lot of those fans were happy that Zarya did what she did? You know what I'm saying? A lot of those people were satisfied that Zarya did it because we've been watching like not really unfair, but we've been waiting and watching and sitting here for this result for the longest. And now we finally get it. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it wasn't still a moment, but I just think it would have been so much bigger and so much more well executed if we could have just done it at the right time. It's just so I don't understand why we have to put things off week by week by week by week. Even the tease before that, I saw people like, oh, and I've seen some NXT fans who really interested in this storyline, and they were really happy that Zarya chose Soul Riverside the week before. But then for us to just kind of run it back and just get what we thought was gonna happen last week to happen this week, also kind of just not muddies the waters and muddies the moment to me because again, I just think we can do this so much better. We could have executed this. Not only could we have executed this better, we could have executed this so much sooner and simpler. So it's just frustrating when I think about it that it just seems like this is the only way that we're choosing to or that they're choosing to tell certain types of stories. It's just kind of like we talk about the Vision storyline and other storylines and then we also don't get that same consistency. Some storylines, like for example, what Cody and Randy got to do now, they got to kind of tell a story which they got to kind of tell a story in a shorter amount of time. They don't do that for all of it necessarily, which I'm not saying they need 12 weeks. Because again, you're probably going to see something that's more compelling because it's only like a however many week build for that match. But for us to just sit here and I get it, we're getting it. We might be getting the road to stand and deliver through this storyline, and maybe that's been the end goal this entire time. But you guys have been trying to tell this story for the entire 2025. Like some of it, me who watch all the time, and maybe some people still care. But to me, how am I supposed to really care when Zarya do this? It
Yeah,
was
that is
expected, and it's
true.
about time she do it. And I don't think that's not the reaction you want. We shouldn't be looking at Zarya do this to a friend or a lover or whatever you want to say, and be like, all right, good, that's about time. No, we should be shocked. We should be mad. Like that's the reaction I thought we got from this, but apparently not.
Exactly. Yeah. It's weird how that works, isn't it? The attacker becomes more popular than the attackee. Tatum Paxley speaks from the stands about searching for an acceptance, learning to find it in the audience at Vengeance Day against Izzy Dame for the North American Championship. She plans to win the title. You'll never be enough, Dame says, and of course they start brawling. This led to Blake Monroe versus Thea Hale in the speed tournament. Monroe interrupts the pulled apart brawl and Howard jump starts against the rivals as the referee restrains Hale from heading ringside. Jada Parker hits Hypnotic on Monroe. Hale capitalizes and pins Monroe a second time, advancing through to the tournament. You see, there you go. You can use different feuds here. Yeah, it works. It makes sense. It's what's nice with the NXT women's division.
Yeah, again, and that's what make earlier so like that's what make that other thing so kind of weird. It's because you can have something like this happen right after that tells more than one story at one time, and then we got stuff like what we just talking about. So Ruka, and that takes forever. We got stuff like this that's kind of been week to week, logical expansion on the story. We got the week, and we know where we're headed, and I like where we're getting. And I think even in this same night, we're kind of gonna get even more. So it's just like Blake and Jada, in my opinion, while also kind of getting the speed tournament stuff out of the way. Also, we also nip that in the bud and we get some Blake Monroe and Jada Parker. And again, that's just one of the strong suits of NXT, in my opinion, is that ability to kind of tell two stories in one segment, basically.
Yeah, without doubt. Cal Dixon versus Uriah Connors. Chase U versus explodes again. Dixon is accompanied by Andre Chase, and Connors is backed by King, Stacks, and Ariana Grace. Dempsey and Heights watch for the monitors backstage. And we see Connors get a boost up on a moonsault attempt. He follows with a Shining Wizard for victory, gloating with the rest of Birthright. Soraya cuts off Fatal Influence, says they owe her. She demands an NXT Championship match next week and threatens to give Jason James the same beating she gave Sol Ruka. And Ricky Saints announces to Vanity Project his own musical experience. Next update. We see a dirty Charlie Hill, Hank, and Tank interrupt, starting a brawl, and stealing Brad Bader's stealing wheel. And then the main event, Ethan Page versus Miles Bourne for the North American Championship. A hype package highlights Page record-breaking North American Championship reign entwined with his in-vein membership of Bourne. Mentorship even. Tonight, Page can break another record, longest North American Championship reign at the moment tied with Carmella Hayes and Obafemi. The Vanity Project runs out, and why wouldn't they? They've been here all update. They strike Bourne with the Evolve Championship. The challenger kicks out before Hill, Hank, and Tank battle them for the entrance fray. Ricky Saints attempts to interfere as NXT champion Joe Hendry. Even the odds. Bourne sends Page into exposed turnbuckle, hitting one last Bourne again to become your new North American champion. And he celebrates with his mum at ringside. 273 days, the longest reigning champion WWE. And as we record this, it is Stephanie Vaquer now who holds that record from September. But Miles does deserve this moment.
Yeah, he earned it. I really do think he earned it, and I think I like the overall story of his character evolving, and I like again Ethan Page. After I don't know if it was always the plan for him to kind of break the record and then pass it on, but this is the effect. This is an effective title reign. We talked about it. Ethan Page, in my opinion, is definitely used better or in better position now to finally get into that world title picture again, which I think he would be a very much needed presence in that division. And I think he's done what he needed to do with this belt. He has had a great run. He's broke records. He also put over upcoming talent in Miles Bourne, who's also in that second tier, in my opinion, right in where he needs to be, in my opinion, right here as a mid card champion or in this fold. Because I'm not sure if he's NXT Championship uh, level quite yet, but I think a good run with this can set Miles Bourne up for the future. And I think Ethan Page is a good person to kind of pass that torch, in my opinion, also. So Yeah, man, this was really, really well executed. I was happy with Miles Bourne. I love that how he got the job done. It made a lot of sense, and I think you can't really be too mad about this result because I think not only is it someone who's deserving of it, I just think it can be. This is like professional wrestling at its best. The veteran world champion or veteran champion level wrestler uh, having a great run, and then being a heel, but also putting over the future on the not really on the way out, but on his way out from this title reign at the very least. So I liked it.
Yeah, no, you got to credit, like I said, Miles Bourne, but fair play to Ethan Page. NXT don't mind changing it up, apart from if it's JC Jane's total reign. Impact February 26th, we had nothing, so that is it. Monty, what are your thoughts on NXT? What are your thoughts on the Vanity Project NXT update?
Again, it's like we talked about. I mean, they're trying to build building blocks, and we just so I think this kind of showcase this group of episodes, in my opinion, rightfully showcase how far away we are, in my opinion, from where we need to be on the men's side of the game. Because I think they're trying to build those building blocks, and I really don't think we can count. I think I got to give props to Trick Williams. Like I give props to Overfemi, of course, for just covering up what is how big of a hole we really had. Kind of, it feels like in the like really this is a great personification of how big a hole that we kind of had in NXT. Javon Evans also kind of helped cover it up. Uh, how far away it really feels we really seem to be, especially in those men's division, and the contrast of the women's division kind of having everything all the way to the Izzy Dame or even to the Ren Sinclair speed championship tournament, all the way down to that. Everything is way more interesting than what we kind of have going on the men's side, all the way down to the speed championship, all the way up to other than of course outside of Ricky, uh, Miles Bourne, Ethan Page, and Joe Hendry. So we gotta continue to build these building blocks. We're not gonna get that tag division. We gotta start from somewhere when it comes to tag division. It feels like we might need to go somewhere else, like outsource. But I don't know. We gotta build something. We gotta make people care about the tag division again. And then in the same vein, I think that also now that Miles Bourne is champion, we gotta get him valuable contenders like we talked about with the Lexus Kings and some of the other stuff, even Charlie Dempsey. Maybe he'll finally have something interesting to do. So we'll see. We're work in progress. I'm trying to be positive. Your overall demeanor was not that, and I get it. This was the Vanity Project update. So if you really love Vanity Project, I'm sure you liked this episode, or you didn't because I was trying to keep it positive. But I mean, like they were all over this episode. They were all over these episodes. So I don't know. I don't know if you could say we won't see that going forward. I think we probably will see more of that instead of less of that. But yeah, so my overall statement is kind of still where it's kind of been in the last few updates. Of kind of like I'm in the middle to where I like a lot of the women's stuff and I like where we're going for the most part week to week. But as far as the men goes, I don't know. And then as far as the relationships with NXT, AAA, Impact, we've fallen all the way off the mountain in that regard. Like, I don't know if you noticed with your Impact, it just wasn't really much of note other than like Ariana and Stats. So, we'll see if that grows or if we ever even if that relationship even matters outside of providing extra bodies for your every now and then NXT match. We'll see, but yeah, man. So it's just a very up and down part. And I told you though, I told you when I saw Over was leaving, when I saw Trick was leaving, I saw Javon, I knew, and I saw Jordan Grace, I saw like what we're losing. I was like, it's gonna be tough. We are in a very
Mm.
tough transitional period right now, particularly in the men's division. So it'd be interesting to see going to stand and deliver. Can we pick up some momentum and even make that a show worth people wasting their time watching on WrestleMania morning? Because right now, stand and deliver what one you might be excited for 1, 2 matches potentially that might be on there. I don't know where we
Yeah.
headed yet, but we'll see. But I'm just saying, it's just like it's not really a compelling show if you ask me right now.
No, not at all. But at least we got each other. You know, that is the main thing. So that is it. Don't forget, we're across all social media. X at the WNR podcast. I'm at the WNR pod. James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter.
And WNR's Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at WNR podcast at gmail.com. YouTube WNR podcast where we're celebrating nearly 11 years of the WNR. We're doing the showcase mode at the moment on 2K26 and clips from any event we go to. Of course, the podcast is live on YouTube, also on SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. Our next episode is AEW Revolution, but we will be back in NXT in a couple of weeks' time for Vengeance Day. Until then, I've been James Rollins and was joined by the mind of Monty. Thank you for joining me, Monty. I mean, like I said, we enjoy each other's company, you know?
We gotta get through this somehow, man. This is not NXT 2.0 bad though. I think.
No. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.